Hello! And in this video I'm building a Dutch inspired junction. So obviously with being Dutch it's very heavily reliant on public transport and on bike transportation. Now there are some major problems with this build. I started building this ages ago and I've only just got around to finishing it in the last couple of days or so. And what I originally wanted to do is use these really tiny paths to make the bike lanes more realistic in size. But I realised that after I'd drawn these bike lanes out and done them in this quite nice decal, if not a bit on the light side, that people on bikes weren't going to really ride on it and they would mingle with pedestrians, which isn't really what I wanted. Because bike lanes in the Netherlands are separated from pedestrians, and so I didn't really want them mixing in this. But looking back at it, I probably should have just left and stayed with these tiny paths, because the bike lanes that I ended up using are huge. They are way too big and not fit for purpose, really. It's a bit of a shame, really. I would like to have a bike path which is small. There is a bike path and pedestrian path combo that you can use, which I have been shown on the Discord. Link in the description to the City Skylines Creators Discord. Come join us over there. Have some good laughs. Talk about City Skylines. Talk about other things as well. Come over. But as I said, I've been shown them, and I tried to get them to work with this design, but I was already pretty much on the end of the build, and they just didn't work. I had to do way too much tweaking, so I may go back and revisit a build similar to this and try and make it fit better, because as you saw in the cinematics, those bike paths were massive, and it is a real problem with scale, and it could look so good, and it just looks okay, which is a bit of a shame, really. So if any of you know of any nice bike paths which have been made that I'm just unaware of, generally if they have a red colour to them already, that would be great. But as I said, I may end up using those bike paths and pedestrian paths, but they are still very wide and just very awkward to use. So here we go, I've updated the path and now I'm using the bike paths that have this red decal on. So it saves a lot on props and just on, I suppose, line work, really. But as you can see, they are massive. A car can basically drive on them. So for bikes, they are a bit too big. And since I used highway roads, for some unknown reason, I have no idea why I used highway roads for this, but I did. So I had to draw all the curbs, all the pavements, and all the pedestrian paths where the pedestrians walk on. And I just used this tiny road that came out quite a while ago now. I also used Sparks decals that I'm using here. They're like ploppable asphalt, so they can be placed. Decals can be placed on top of them, so they can sit under these bike paths which have decals on them and not clip at all, which is lovely. It does involve obviously a lot of work, because I'm basically creating the entire junction from scratch with all the curbs and all the protective barriers and stuff. So the DLC for City Skylines is coming out on the 24th of May. I'm not sure how many videos I'm going to get out before then, or even after the DLC comes out, because, well, as you know, if any of you have played this game after a major DLC release, all the mods are broken. Some of the assets are broken, just things are generally broken. Now I'm hoping it will be a nice transition, like the previous DLC, where some mod makers got access to the game early and could update their mods, but whether or not that works is a a question, because some people have got early access to the game, and a lot of mods are broken or just messed up. So these 2 videos that I'm going to be releasing in the next couple of days, maybe the last for a while. Now, it's been, I think, 2 weeks since I even released my last video, so there may be a small gap of anywhere from a couple of days to several weeks before the game is updated. And obviously this will give me a bit of break in playing City Skylines. So I have been playing City Skylines, but not as much as I was, say, this time last year. So here's hoping that the DLC won't break the game too much. It probably will, and we're probably all going to cry about it. But we can always hope. So as the video has been going on, there's been a lot of progress that I've either skipped over or felt that it was not necessary really to put it into a video. I do find it hard when editing what to put in a video, what people want to see. I try and get as much as I can of the placement of certain props and items just to show how I do it. Not really sure what people like to see or want to see, because if I showed the whole process, this video would be 8 hours, 9 hours long, and it just wouldn't really work as a video. No one would watch it. It would take me a million years to upload, and the editing time would be crazy, and I would never do it. So this is a very obviously cut down version, and it tries to show as much as I did, but I did miss a lot. Like those, some of those benches are all custom benches that I made using different props and assets. Some of them are made by Skib, he has a YouTube channel. You've probably heard of him. He combines different props together and he actually makes them into an asset. So they're very easy to plop down and use. I use those quite a lot here. There are a couple benches. There's a couple of like modern art sort of benches pieces that I use just to fill in the spaces of a city. So I felt like this part here was a bit just bland and had a very wide protection barrier, so I decided to add a small bus stop here just to try and make it seem less empty space, because I do find it very difficult to fill in the gaps between the road and the cycle path and the pedestrian path. It's just finding things that fit and trying to work it out, because obviously the scale is different in real life, and also in real life they just tend to have big open spaces in places, but in City Skylines the game doesn't really work that much, so I try and fill it in with as many little, like I suppose you could say, like greeblies or just things, props basically. Like these fences are a good filler. They also provide protection to the passengers getting onto the bus, and also to the bike path as well. So this video is drawing to a close soon. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.